To end 2024 and begin 2025, I have a lot of good RTS news for you, my fellow fans. Starting with the reminder that for the first time, Steam is going to host the Real-Time Strategy Fest. From the 20th to the 27th of January, we are going to be treated to the newest trailers, demos and playtests of many upcoming games, some of which you might have already heard of and probably more than a few you haven't. I will post a special video soon talking about all the games worth playing during this RTS Steam Fest, but let us now focus on the latest news about these kinds of games, starting with a totally new one I discovered just recently. This is Tabletop Tavern, which is very much an indie project by a developer who already successfully published a game before. This time he's making a roguelike RTS, which means every run is unique and presents different challenges for you. The most interesting aspect of this game are not units made up of dozens of mercenaries, monsters and beasts that you recruit and then command in real time, but the battlefield you are playing on is a tabletop in the middle of an actual tavern. Talk about feeling like you are in a simulation of a simulation. Since these battles are the main gameplay element, the base building aspect is exchanged for a different gameplay layer, on which you choose which event or battle to go into next. There you also find gear which boosts your units in some way or your overall progress. There is naturally more to it than that, and we will all be able to try it out once its demo is live on Steam, which should be any day now. So make sure to check the game's Steam store page, which is linked in the description of this video. As you know, I love to showcase great mods for amazing RTS games, and this one certainly fits that description.
The army? Did he say who it was for?
Of course he did. This army is for the Republic.
Awakening of the Clone Wars is a complete overhaul mod for Star Wars Empire at War Forces of Corruption, and it features full story campaigns with tactical missions for both the Republic and the Confederacy of Independent Systems, better known as the Separatists, all the way up to the Battle of Coruscant. Additionally, these modders added in-depth hero, tech and mission systems, new maps and lots of new units. The thing that this mod doesn't support are skirmish, multiplayer or the 32-bit version of Empire at War. On the galaxy map of this mod, you will occasionally find events that will give you choices and outcomes which can be negative or positive for your faction of choice. Each faction also has a special diplomat who can engage in diplomatic missions on certain enemy-controlled worlds. To accommodate all these new and changed gameplay elements, these modders had changed and improved many of the already existing gameplay systems, the AI and the user interface. Interestingly enough, the developers of Empire at War, Petroglyph Games, have released a new update at about the same time, fixing bugs and optimizing the 64-bit version of the game to increase frame rates by as much as 50% on large galactic maps. Do let me know which are your favorite Empire at War mods, and have you tried out this one yet down in the comments. When it comes to new games which got updates, one of the worst early access launches of 2024 received more than 12 patches and content additions in 16 days. Yes, I'm talking about Industrial Annihilation. I know many got disappointed after its shallow early release and lack of content, but the developers are obviously listening to feedback as they have already published 2 interactive tutorial levels. One which helps players to learn the logistics of resource extraction and transportation, and another which explains the power buildings and their uses. In addition to those, they have also added sandbox maps to play on, letting you try out what you learned in the new tutorials and expand on that knowledge by trial and error on a carefree map with all the resources you could want. In the patch notes, performance is also mentioned to have been improved, crashes hunted down, controls and UI made more player friendly, and lots of units and buildings balanced when it comes to their cost and use. I hope the developers can keep up this pace for a few months and introduce a lot of content to make their asking price worthwhile, and for their Steam review rating to go from mixed to positive, as it has already recovered from the starting negative one. So I was looking into more new games and ran into a small indie team which has been working on a game titled Warfactory, and it's not too different to the gameplay we just saw in Industrial Annihilation. This is because Warfactory is a mix of factory building and production management in real time, and its devs want you to feel like you are running a huge industrial war machine. Production chains are your base building here, while robots which you can craft yourself are your combat troops. Yes, there are conveyor belts and large-scale unit formations made up of many robots, but it is all very early gameplay. One of the most important elements the developers are baking in is endless replayability fueled by procedurally generated challenges, multiplayer modes, and future updates, which they hope will keep the gameplay fresh and exciting. It will definitely be interesting to see how it all works out when they reach a playable version or some other large milestone, and I will revisit Warfactory then. One game I revisit very often, and mostly due to its constant patches and content drops, is Sins of a Solar Empire 2, which received its Unity Ascendant update. This one is focused, as you can tell by its name, on the Advent Unity ability, and the Advent Wrath faction gaining 3 and Advent Reborn being given 2 new Unity abilities. But besides that, 2 new gravity wells have been added called Ship Graveyard and Space Junk, while the game now finally has Steam achievements for you to hunt down if you enjoyed doing that. The Unity abilities in question for the Wrath faction of the Advent are Avatar, a potent fleet buff that significantly boosts damage output; the Chastise, a control ability that restricts enemy movement, preventing escapes; and lastly, Fury, a direct damage ability that unleashes raw power on foes. The Wrath faction also retains Clairvoyance for enhanced map awareness, and Proselytize, which has regained its unrestricted culture projection capabilities. As for the Reborn Advent faction, they now have the Cleanse, a sacrificial ability that restores stats of nearby units by destroying one of your own. The second addition is Resurrection, and it is considered a game-changing ability because it allows you to restore entire fleets mid-battle. The other abilities are Clairvoyance, Recall, and Sanctify. Do note that the economy of focus is now front-loaded and harder to increase, while regeneration is also slower. More research options for specific factions have also been added with this update. Interestingly enough, conversion, a key aspect of the Wrath faction, has been temporarily removed from the game pending a redesign. This is definitely not something you see developers doing often after a final version of the game has already been released. If you have experience with this game mechanic and want to share your view on it, I welcome your comments. Since it is winter now, at least on my hemisphere of the planet, I think it is fitting to check out some of the latest footage of Fractured Alliance gameplay on winter maps. Huskies with miniguns on their back included. Hilariously over the top, I know. This is just one of the ways Fractured Alliance, a project by experienced indie devs, is trying to capture that Command and Conquer style lightning in a bottle. The game will feature infantry, vehicles, air units, even walls and defensive turrets. Base building is as you would expect, with a mobile base deploying into an HQ building and then constructing power plants, barracks, refineries, factories and the like. These new clips showed us more resource collection in action and paraded a lot of units on the snow. There are full skirmish matches I could show you of Fractured Alliance, but not in this type of a video of course, so we will check those out in the future. Another huge game which has been continuously improved since its release is Company of Heroes 3, and now the devs from Relic, who are once again an independent studio, have posted news on future content updates. In addition to that, they are sponsoring a community-organized map-making competition with a prize pool of more than $2,000. As for new content, they plan to add 4 heavy tank battle groups in late February of 2025 as a DLC pack on Steam, one for each faction. They also plan to remove the Australian Defense and Battlefield Espionage battlegroups from the in-game store after the anniversary update, which should happen in March. This means what is now free becomes a paid part of the content, so grab it soon, while the developers plan to use the funds from these to pay for future free updates of the game. I am sure such moves will anger part of the audience, but that is simply what happens when you make a deal with the devil and he corrupts your work. A fresh start with a new game should help Relic turn things around in the future, and that is why I wish them a lot of success and luck, as it will surely be a rocky road for them as an independent studio. Another dev team that has funding issues since they started on their own path but equally post regular updates of their game are the folks at Frost Giant Studios, the developers of Stormgate. As they said in their Ask Me Anything on Reddit, there's no save and reload in real life. So ever since they kicked off early access, they have been working hard to figure out how best to proceed, coming to the conclusion to focus on the campaign and 1v1 PvP mode, with the Team Mayhem mode following those. They have recently worked on a huge balance patch, making sure the three factions, Vanguard, Infernals and Celestials, all have an equal chance to win matches. Improvements were made to the co-op gameplay as well, a new hero was introduced and the hero level cap raised to 20. They are always working on future additions to the game, starting with new art that translates later into actual content. There was always a lot of potential in this one, but it hasn't been aligned with the expectations of its audience. Hopefully that will change in the future. Now I want to switch over to a true blast from the past, The Lord of the Rings: The Battle for Middle-earth, one of the last good RTS games to come out of Electronic Arts and made by talented folks at EA Los Angeles, and with the veterans of Westwood Studios bolstering their ranks. It is a game that is very hard to find and install these days, but modders who love it and work on it in their spare time have made a new version of the launcher application. It helps you play this old gem, including multiple languages, an improved repair function, updated graphical user interface, and they're even preparing it to work with the second game and its expansion Rise of the Witch King by August of 2025. I'm going to leave the link down in the description, so if you want to play these games, the all-in-one The Battle for Middle-earth launcher offers you the perfect way to do this easily, as well as to manage all your downloaded mods. As for newest games on the block, a small development team created a sort of an RTS with a focus on defense, turrets and thousands of enemies to cut down. Its most unique features are being able to move your turrets whenever you want to a new location and fully destructible terrain. It is titled IDUN Frontline Survival after a Norse goddess of youth, and it is also the name of the planet that is your battlefield. The game does feature resource extraction and tech research to upgrade your arsenal, even a base of sorts, but the main gameplay is you holding the line against massive swarms of alien enemies. You can even get a bit of help from heroes of sorts, while interestingly enough, this game is being made by an ex-Battlefield game developer. Its release date is the 20th of January, so you won't be waiting long to see if you like this sort of an RTS subgenre and its unique features. There is one solo developed RTS indie game I know you definitely love hearing about, and that is Hyperwar. Its dev published on his own YouTube channel a full skirmish match of uninterrupted gameplay lasting almost a full hour. You can watch how his very neatly designed command of Fog of War works, how you dispel it by investing resources into radar range, the day and night cycle, how resources are collected in Hyperwar, what are all the buildings you can construct at your base, and of course, how the combat looks like from 3 different perspectives: top down, first and third one. There are also another dozen gameplay mechanics and features that this game has, most of them unique to it, and I have showcased some of them in my previous videos of Hyperwar you can find in my playlist linked up here and down in the description. This full gameplay video, released by the developer, shows you just how amazing this Unreal Engine RTS looks like, both in broad daylight and the middle of the night, and it is quite jaw-dropping. He does not plan to make multiplayer until he has released a working single player, and to think this is his very first game project. Just wow. This kind of wow effect, compounded by Unreal Engine graphics, isn't unique, because another solo indie dev who later got a bunch of contractors to help him out is the developer of Manor, and he has also been busy posting balancing, performance and gameplay improvement patches and making new content to add to the game. First of all, he added new playable maps, one with high mountains and another with a huge river. And with a new river, you need a way to cross it, so the bridge building system has been added as an extension of the road tool. The deep mines have also had a rework to improve mining and resource extraction, while the overstock mechanic has been introduced to keep supply of consumables smoother in large settlements. This one logistic change should help out all of you with huge settlements and reduce your headaches. With its massive settlement building gameplay and unit combat straight out of Total War, this is the most successful RTS/city building hybrid game so far. And when mentioning Total War, are you aware the developers and publisher of Total War have finally figured out they have been pushing their one golden egg down the hill towards rocks for the past several years, and are finally doing a 180. With their latest post, they have decided to make some important changes. First of all, blood packs are no longer going to be made into DLCs, because developers are finally admitting there was no real reason for gatekeeping them behind payment. Second, the Total War launcher is going to be removed and a new mod management system implemented, so no more double steps when launching these games. Third, another DLC related thing of the past will be early adopter bonuses for factions when new games are released, so no more locked content on day one behind paywalls. The fourth step in their 180 turnaround is that Shadows of Change, the pack DLC for Total War Warhammer 3, will now offer individual purchase options alongside updates to its featured races. So anyone who hasn't purchased Shadow of Change will be able to buy each DLC individually like Thrones of Decay. There will be more Total War games in the future, none of which have been announced so far, but let's hope this new face the developers are presenting will not be just a mask. I know Command and Conquer mods are many, but none do what the Command and Conquer Combined Arms mod does, and that is to combine the Allies, Soviets, GDI, NOD, and the Aliens screen all in one game. Insane, you say? No, because that isn't even all of it, as each faction has 4 unique sub-factions with their own units, powers and upgrades. These modders use the open RA engine to build their project, which is totally free to play, and you can always download it from their website, which allows you to play the original and restored C&C games. As for the content in this mod, there is a full campaign of 34 missions with a narrative that has all the universes and timelines interwoven into each other. Then you have the skirmish versus AI and 450 maps to play on. If you are up for multiplayer 1v1s, that is possible too, using their servers including rankings and statistics. Now for a more lighthearted game, let's take a look at Cluck and Conquer, an indie title featuring chicken knights, rooster bow cavalry and knife throwers. This game does have a sort of base and siege weapons as well. I know how simple it looks, but I just had to include it in this video to brighten the mood with such a funny design of units in this indie RTS. You can try the pre-alpha demo on itch.io and wishlist the game on Steam. On a much more serious note, Line War has received another update. This time, these indie developers have added new technologies aimed to bring more depth to strategy and tactics you can employ in battles. For this, you can now construct the Academy building, unlocking 11 brand new technologies. Additionally, when units are close to where they can be produced, they can now be repaired and healed faster, while the economy changes are aimed at improving how revenue and expenses are calculated. For 2025, these developers want to add railroads with stations and train yards so you can rapidly transport land units and also train the massive railroad gun and or anti-aircraft and general purpose guns. The big gun will fire grenades further than any other unit in line war and it will introduce splash damage. Besides that, more tutorials and mini-campaigns are planned, a map and campaign editor, better AI, basic AI scripting control and much more. I hope that now more of you will have a reason to try this game out.
Alan, did you just... Oops.
When it comes to some more holiday updates, Nuke Them All developer not only wanted to make a holiday celebration, but also to mark the 30-year anniversary of the game which inspired him. So now we get to play this time-based RTS, which has a bit of base building on a tribute map for the Z game. If you already own Nuke Them All, this map should be available to you already. Nuke Them All is based on a system of capturing flags and new unit production buildings which push out new units on a timer, while the main objective is protecting your HQ and blowing up the enemy one. And of course, you can still use nukes to do so. Another indie game with a somewhat similar art style and a playable demo on Steam is Counter Clash. And its latest additions to the gameplay are elemental towers as part of the Eco and Defense update, as well as more hero units which have different combat abilities. I have mentioned this game before, but I don't want to miss this chance to show you the latest footage of it provided directly by the developer. Counter Clash will offer both base building and unit combat with several diverse factions and lots of different map biomes to play on. I hope you will give its demo a spin and wishlist it for when it comes out on Steam in 2025.
Oi! The mission order has arrived.
If you would like to play something quite different from all the other games I have shown so far, you should look into Corsairs Battle of the Caribbean. It is a kind of an RTS that focuses on naval combat back in the time of cloth sails and wooden hulls. You can choose to represent one of the great maritime powers of that time: French, Danish, Spanish, British or Dutch. Besides naval combat with 12 different ship types and 3 different ammo types, the game will also feature politics, treasure hunting, quests, tactical combat with 3 types of soldiers and your captain, boarding and trade. It will be released with a campaign mode featuring 5 storylines. I know this isn't your regular RTS game, but as a big fan of Sidemeier's Pirates, I just had to show you this one. In the world of indie RTS, rare are the truly large-scale ones, and since Retro Commander received a big update, I had to take notice of it. It finally has a full new faction which you can play with, and it's the Aliens. This new faction introduces a unique playstyle with powerful, otherworldly units, advanced technology like the antimatter bombs, and strategies that will challenge all you commanders. You can use this new faction in both the campaign and other game modes, and good news is that there is a totally new chapter now in that campaign. There are comic book style cutscenes to enjoy, as well as to learn about the lore and story as you play. It isn't a fully free game, as some of its content has to be purchased, like extra maps to play on, and even modding tools are behind this paywall. It is an interesting sales concept that has both good and bad sides to it. As you know, I scoured the internet looking for newest RTS projects to showcase to you, and I have found another I have never mentioned before. Its indie dev called it StarSim BattleZone, and yes, it's still quite raw. The idea of it is that it offers old-school gameplay with both base building and unit combat, along with gathering resources, researching new technologies and constructing defenses. The story is about human forces trying to take over control of uninhabited planets and exploit their resources. The game will have a skirmish mode to play custom battles on various maps. There isn't much more footage or info about it. Another game whose content updates I love to showcase is Silica, as it is one of the best currently operational RTS FPS hybrids. Its developer, aided by his longtime friendly publisher, has released a new map and many improvements. This new map is called Polaris Outpost and it is set on icy plains of the planet Baltaros, which usually sports warmer maps. The other recently added map, Crescent Peak, can now be played in the Siege mode, which itself was added back in November. When it comes to the strategy mode, respawn selection has been added, allowing you to target your key objectives more accurately. The main developer plans to rework the AI collision system in the future, which should finally fix vehicles colliding and getting stuck. Expect this update to Silica somewhere in the first quarter of 2025. A new indie game about to be released by an experienced developer, which even has a demo you can play on Steam, is Welcome Back Commander. It is a very strange mix of squad tactical combat you oversee from a top-down perspective, equipment and upgrade management, as well as management of resources. Its release date is set for the 5th of February, while the demo has been enriched with 2 new scenarios, the Cloth Shop and the Bar, and its demo playtime has been increased by 1 extra day. The main game is designed with replayability in mind, making every playthrough as unique and fresh as possible by giving you different new game bonus options, a bit of randomly generated content, multiple paths, multiple endings, and multiple ways to play. One more small game which has received extra updates from its indie dev is Zeta Leporis RTS. This is a sci-fi game with spaceship combat as its main feature. You can play its demo too, but the full game is rather cheap. You can play this one in the skirmish mode with lots of match customization options and AI difficulty settings. The dev is still working on multiplayer. His latest update was about improving AI, its aggression and settings, and ironing out bugs. The look and feel of Zeta Leporis is quite old school, so I'm sure some of you will enjoy playing it. And with that, we end 2024. I want to thank you for watching, wish you happy gaming and a happy new year.